Live from Local 2, home of click2houston.com. This is KPRC Local 2 News Midday.
Two emergencies this morning at Houston's Hobby Airport. One of them, a plane went off the runway.
Also, two kids without their parents after a murder-suicide in southeast Houston.
And selecting the next pope, the last-minute preparations are underway for the conclave set to start tomorrow. But first, we begin right now with some breaking news out of northeast Houston. Sky 2 is live over a homicide investigation on Sparks near the East Tex Freeway. Houston
police have not released a whole lot of information. We're told this call came in as an assault with injuries. We've got a crew on the way. Of course, we'll bring you more information as we get it.
In the meantime, good morning and thanks for joining us. I'm Lauren Freeman.
Hi there, I'm Owen Conflenti in for Andy Sirota today. I want to bring you the latest on those emergencies at Hobby Airport this morning. One plane went off the runway and another incident, workers surrounded a small plane on the runway. Let's go to Mark Boyle. Information. Mark, good morning.
On a very busy morning here at Hobby Airport, that second emergency with the smaller plane, it happened just about 30 minutes ago. Caesar, my photographer, can zoom in and show you. We also have video from Sky 2. Emergency crews surrounded that small plane, and airport officials just now confirming for us that the plane was coming out of the hangar when the pilot realized he had a flat tire. Now back live here on the ground, I want to show you over to my left. There's a Delta jet right there, still on, just off of the tarmac. It went off of the tarmac on the grass. It can't move, however, until emergency crews can drain all of the fuel on board.
He does something, the plane's gonna go off the runway into the grass.
Passengers on board this Delta Connection flight were taxiing down the runway at Houston's Hobby Airport Monday morning when something went terribly wrong.
All of a sudden came to an overly abrupt stop, and a couple minutes later the pilot came on the phone and let us know that we had gotten stuck and we're gonna have to deboard the plane.
According to the Houston airport system, the pilot reported some type of communications problem and was taxiing back to the gate at the time. Seconds later, for some reason, the entire jet rolled off of the tarmac and ended up in a wet, grassy area.
We just woke up to jolts, and they told us that our plane was stuck in the grass, so we had to get it rescheduled.
Pinnacle Airlines was operating Flight 4302 with service from Hobby to Atlanta. Pinnacle says the CRJ 900 had 76 passengers on board and a crew of 4. No one was hurt. Local 2 was there as buses drove passengers back to the gate area where they waited to be rebooked on other flights. These are pictures passengers snapped as they walked off the plane. For the most part, passengers tried to remain positive through all of the delays.
Generally pretty impressed that he managed to get the entire plane off the runway. So everyone was okay, and it sounds like they're trying to get us reboarded, but just pretty unique circumstance for me anyway.
Now back live, Delta agents inside the terminal telling passengers this plane could be out here for several more hours before it's towed back to the gate. Of course, there will be a lengthy investigation to figure out exactly why this plane went off the tarmac onto the grassy area, but it could just be a simple mistake. The pilot may have missed the turn and turned too sharp. That's what some passengers think may have happened here this morning. For now, reporting live at Hobby Airport, Mark Boyle, KPRC Local 2.
And also passengers are saying that the frustrating part of all this, they could take hours before they could get on another flight out of Houston.
Live from Local 2, home of click2houston.com. This is KPRC Local 2 News at 4.
A dramatic police chase unfolds in North Houston. This afternoon, we're learning more about the suspect who fled.
Plus, today was Pope Francis's first full day on the job, how he used his first sermon as pontiff to share his ideas about life.
And a man stabbed and left to die in front of an East Harris County home.
Good afternoon. I'm Rachel McNeil.
And I'm Keith Garvin. We begin with the latest on that deadly stabbing. A suspect is in custody.
We're also learning new details about what may have led up to the stabbing around 2 this morning on Steel Road and North Battle Bell Road in the Highlands. Reporter Camille Williams joins us now live.
That is right. You know, the neighbors are saying one thing and the family of the suspect is saying another, and Harris County Sheriff's deputies are not releasing a lot of information at this time. The murder happened right behind me, but neighbors say earlier they saw investigators searching this area down here looking for clues. Here's Sky 2 video from earlier. This is an aerial shot of the search. The incident happened around 2 this morning. Harris County Sheriff's deputies responded to a stabbing in the 800 block of Steel Road in Highlands. When they arrived, they found a man face up, stabbed to death death in front of this home. Investigators have not released many details to us, but say there was some sort of a verbal confrontation. As of right now, sheriff's deputies have one person in custody. I just spoke with the family of the suspect, and they are claiming he was defending himself when he stabbed the man. We are told that the suspect was found at an apartment complex in Baytown. Of course, we'll continue to follow this story and make sure to bring you the very latest as soon as it becomes available, and also at 6. Reporting live in Highlands, Camille Williams, KPRC Local 2.
Well, if you have any information that can help police track down the suspect, call Crime Stoppers.
Some tense moments in North Houston as a driver led police on a dangerous chase. Sky 2 followed part of that pursuit, and our cameras were there when the suspect surrendered. Local 2's Joel Eisenbaum has more on how it all unfolded.
Why is this reporter on top of a trailer? I'll tell you why I'm on top of a trailer. It's because this is where the chase ended this morning. And it's pretty fitting. They sell trailers here, and in the end, this suspect got hauled away.
Oh, someone's running from the cops.
Yes, ma'am, right on the money. A wild Thursday morning for police and the burglary suspect in this SUV who just wouldn't quit, at least for a while. The pursuit started in Bel Air just before 9 a.m. An astute police officer had a hunch. The man in the SUV was connected to a crime the day earlier. What was that about, Chief?
There was a man in his home. He was in his living room, and he had his garage door open. He noticed what he thought to be some movement out in his garage, so he went to check, and he saw a suspect running out of the garage carrying some golf clubs and some other items.
Anyway, it looks like Officer David Roca picked the right vehicle because the chase was on through Bel Air, West U, 59 northbound, 45 northbound, with close calls all along the way, until it finally ended before 10, complete with spectators, in the parking lot of Nationwide Trailers off the North Freeway near West Gulf Bank. The suspect gave up with a cigarette in his mouth and not a scratch on him or anyone else.
We all kind of rushed out. So, I'd never seen anything like that before, so I mean, we were all kind of excited to see what was going on.
What's going on for this suspect is most likely 2 charges, burglary of a habitation and felony evading. On the north side, Joel Eisenbaum, KPRC, Local 2.
Bel Air police are withholding the name of the suspect as they search for a possible accomplice in the burglary case. Officers say they found stolen items in the back of that SUV, and in the meantime, our website, click2houston.com, we've got raw video of the chase under today's top stories. Well, the teenager who was at the center of a controversial videotaped police beating case has been taken into custody once again. When Chad Holly showed up for a court appearance today for a burglary charge from back in June, he was arrested on a warrant out of Harris County Precinct 5. In January of last year, Holly was ticketed for trespassing at a school and fined, but he never finished paying the fine. Holly was originally arrested in March of 2010. 4 police officers were accused of brutality in that case.
Well, it is the first day in a new and very prestigious office for Pope Francis. He celebrated his first Mass as Pontiff in the Sistine Chapel today. It's the same place where he was elected as Pope about 24 hours ago. For his first day as Pontiff, he's already returning heads for his unique style of leadership. Local 2's Bill Baeza has the latest from Rome.
Although the new pope won't be officially installed as head of the church until next Tuesday, he got up early this morning and hit the ground running. Ducking in a side entrance, Pope Francis made his first public appearance this morning at Santa Maria Maggiore. A handful of well-wishers among the first to greet the new pontiff. This afternoon, celebrating Mass with the cardinals in the Sistine Chapel where he was elected. Humble, yes, but the Vatican says he also has a sense of humor.
He said, may God forgive you for what you've done.
The simple Jesuit from Argentina, living in a small apartment, riding the public bus. The Pope's humble lifestyle now on display all over Rome.
I think they're going to all be in shock. This may not be a man who wants to wear silk and furs.
Last night, after greeting the crowd, a spokesman says he skipped the papal limousine, took the bus, went back to his hotel to pick up his bags and pay his bill.
He was concerned about giving a good example of what priests and bishops should do.
But style aside, huge problems lie ahead. Dealing with the sexual abuse crisis, corruption, a decline in membership, and reforming the Vatican.
The fact that he talked about being the Bishop of Rome, I think, really resonated with the people here.
The people here, now his people, as 1.2 billion Catholics look to their new Pope for answers and inspiration. And now we're getting word that last night's announcement was the second biggest Twitter event, second only to President Obama's re-election. In Rome, Bill Baeza, KPRC, Local 2.
And Bill has been covering these historic events for us in Rome. Coming up at 5, he sits down with Cardinal Daniel DiNardo of the Archdiocese Galveston-Houston, who was part of the conclave to select the next pope.
Houston's large Catholic community is excited about the new pope. Many have been watching all of the developments in Rome very closely. Local 2's Mark Boyle has more from downtown Houston with their thoughts about Pope Francis.
With a new pope in place, local Catholics now praying for that pope as well as for the future.
Well, we got a pope.
To say Catholics we spoke with are pleased about the election of the new pope may be an understatement.
I pray very hard, and as you know, we have been praying very, very hard, because we have to continue changing, making the changes in the world.
During morning mass at the Co-Cathedral of the Sacred Heart in downtown Houston, dozens showed up to pray for the future of the church as well as Francis I.
When you have a change of leadership like how it is happening right now, it is a great thing. For me, I think it is a blessing.
Over the doors of the cathedral, yellow and white cloth. The colors signify there is a new pope, and we're told they'll be up at least for the next couple of days until the installation mass.
It is great to see that that leaders in the church, care about, of what's going up, And right now we're planting the seeds of the future, and that's what I think it is important.
Pope Benedict was known as the Pope of the Faith. This Pope is going to be known as the Pope of humility, humbleness.
And a spokesperson for this cathedral says Cardinal DiNardo is likely to return back to Houston sometime later next week. For now, reporting downtown, Mark Boyle, KPRC, Local 2.
We've got a special section on the new pope on our website, click2houston.com. You can read more about the pope, his first day, the history of the papacy, and Bill's blog from Rome.
A dramatic scene in the Montrose area as a house fire spread to a duplex. One person was hurt. Home video from a viewer shows us what it was like for firefighters as they tried to put out the fire. Viewer Josh Verde sent us this video of the fire on West Almere and Stanford. The fire started just before 4 this morning. Local 2's Courtney Gilmore spoke to neighbors about what happened.
Well, fire crews had this street blocked for hours. They put out hot spots and tried to determine the official cause of the blaze. Now the fire spread from one home to that duplex. You can see where the fire burned through the roof. Families are still in shock that they lost everything.
But I was really nervous because the garage of my house is run down. I think one little spark, if it jumped, it would have engulfed it as well.
Amanda O'Toole says she woke up in a panic. This is what she saw when she looked outside, an orange glow coming from the back of her neighbor's home.
I woke up to little sounds, like little bomb sounds, explosions, and looked out my back door, and there were flames coming out from the neighbor's backyard.
Fire quickly consumed the small one-story home off Solner and Stanford, forcing a family of 3 to take cover.
Was a lady and her daughter in the first house. They both got out. I have talked to them, and the story that they tell is that thank heavens they had smoke detectors because that's what woke them up.
According to the woman's husband, she was burned on her forehead and hand, but is doing okay. As for her next-door neighbors, they were still in harm's way. 15 minutes after the fire started, the flames jumped to the duplex next door, destroying that home as well. Fire crews pulled a 2-alarm and went into defensive mode. The family that lived inside of the duplex says they were enjoying spring break vacation with their kids. Now they'll have to find another place to call home. Arson investigators are still trying to determine the official cause of the fire. Meanwhile, the families say they're just grateful they were able to get out alive. Reporting in Montrose, Courtney Gilmore, KPRC, Local 2.
Well, as you know, daylight savings was this past weekend, and firefighters say that's a really good time to change the batteries in your smoke alarms and carbon monoxide detectors.
Members of the Houston Police Department gathered to honor some of their own today. Chief Charles McClellan and other department officials handed out more than 50 awards for officers who have shown exceptional service to the citizens of Houston. Officer Kenneth Strange was awarded for saving a woman who was about to jump off a bridge. He says he could not have done a thing without the help of his fellow officers.
Makes me feel great, but it also, without my fellow officers, nothing's possible. I had a great partner that day, and then the other officers that were at the scene were instrumental in the whole thing.
The chief handed out awards today for meritorious service, public service, and for excellence. Well, more trouble on a Carnival cruise ship where this ship got stranded and what the passengers are saying.
And we're stranded with an absolutely beautiful day. That's going to continue, but there's at least one big change on the way. That's in your forecast straight ahead.
And I'm consumer expert Amy Davis. Millions of Americans will soon be getting a tax refund from Uncle Sam. I'm going to show you how to track yours.
And the suspect at the center of a New York shooting rampage that left 4 people dead is now dead himself. Up next, how this all unfolded. Next on Local 2 News at 4.
Live from Local 2, home of click2houston.com. This is KPRC Local 2 News at 5.
I heard sirens on the feeder, Katy Freeway, and the police officers pretty much told me that my information fit the description of the child that got hit.
Just heartbreaking words from a local mother. She describes the moment that she found out her 11-year-old special needs son had been hit and killed in West Houston. Good evening, I'm Dominique Saxa.
I'm Bill Maessa. Thank you for joining us. That mom says her son left her home and ran out into the traffic. The accident happened on the Katy Freeway outbound feeder road near Willcrest about 7:30 last night.
11-year-old Desmond Thomas had autism. He died at the hospital. Tonight his mom is talking to Local 2's Joel Eisenbaum. Joel is joining us live now from West Houston with more on this tragedy. Joel?
Dominique, certainly a tough story. I want you to take a look at the feeder road. This is the spot where this young man died last night. Imagine trying to cross this on foot during the day as an adult. Now add to that, it's no longer daytime. It's pitch dark out. You're an 11-year-old kid and you have autism. That's what this kid had to overcome, and he simply couldn't. It was his nature. He loved to wander. But last night, 11-year-old Desmond Thomas, on foot, most likely taking this 1-mile route, did it for the last time.
Oh, it broke my heart. Yeah, it really touched me.
This friendly, sweet, adventurous Westwood Elementary student had autism, and it presented unique challenges for his family last night and most other nights.
He was very impulsive and would jet as soon as he had a thought in his head. We never knew what he was thinking.
Wednesday night, Desmond, while his dad was busy folding laundry upstairs, managed to slip out, only to reappear 20 minutes later in front of a driver who didn't have time to stop.
It was absolutely horrible, and a little boy lost his life because he had to run across the freeway. I didn't understand it.
His mom heard it and was just moments from finding him.
I heard sirens on the feeder. I knew it was Desmond.
The driver of the Lincoln Navigator that hit Desmond will not be charged with the crime, say police. This was an accident. But of course, that doesn't make it any easier.
I just remember him the way he was. I think he was a happy child. He always had a smile on his face. And just his brother and sister keep his memories.
You can see where friends and family left balloons in that spot. That's virtually the exact spot where Desmond died last night. Again, no criminal charges are expected to be filed in this case. Funeral arrangements are still pending tonight. We're live on the west side. Joel Eisenbaum, KPRC Local 2.
Thank you, Joel. A police chase came to a deadly end on a busy Baytown freeway. Now, we first brought you this story as breaking news at 11 o'clock this morning from Sky 2. Officers shot and killed a man they say pointed a gun at them. It happened off Spur 330 in Baytown. Now, we've just gotten a picture of the man. Here it is, Frederick Grayson. Tonight, Local 2's Philip Mena is learning more about what led up to the chase.
Baytown police say what started as a domestic dispute just a few miles away ended here on Spur 330 when officers shot and killed a man right in the roadway. The view from Sky 2 shows where Baytown police say 3 of their officers were forced to shoot and kill a man Thursday after he began shooting at them.
And within seconds, the driver's side window exploded. The suspect was shooting his handgun out of the driver's side window at the direction of the officers. He then sat up and aggressively leaned his body outside of the driver's side window.
Police say it all started minutes earlier when they got a call from a woman saying her boyfriend had just shot his gun in her apartment.
He had discharged his firearm inside of her apartment before leaving in an emotional state.
He was so emotional when he left, police say he began driving erratically and swerving into oncoming traffic, all while holding a gun to his own head. He even ran this car off the road, causing it to crash on the Spur 330 on-ramp. Eventually, this is where he stopped.
Officers were unsure if he had taken his own life at that point. They attempted to call him over the PA to get him to exit the vehicle. There was no response. Our officers got out on foot, approached the vehicle.
Police found the man lying on his back inside the car, pointing his gun at them. And when they called in SWAT for help, that's when investigators say the man began shooting. In keeping with procedure for these types of incidents, the 3 officers involved in the shooting will now be placed on administrative paid leave for the next 3 days. Reporting in Baytown, Philip Mena, KPRC Local 2.
Baytown police tell us no others were injured, including the man's girlfriend back in that apartment. There is now an internal affairs investigation.
7 people accused in a plot that put our national security at risk faced a judge today in downtown Houston, and only our cameras were there. Investigators say the group smuggled sensitive electronics from Houston to Russian military intelligence. Local 2's Nefertiti Jacquez has more now from the federal courthouse.
Well, the suspects appeared in court today, but none of them entered pleas. As for the alleged ringleader, his defense attorney told reporters off camera that he plans to take a hard look at the allegations. Only our cameras were there this morning when the group accused of smuggling sensitive American military electronics to Russia were led into the federal courthouse. The group, which included the alleged ringleader Alexander Finchenko, seen here in the black vest, were brought into the building, shackled together. Cameras are not allowed inside, but we were in courtroom 701 as Finchenko and 6 others were formally briefed on the charges against them in their first court appearance. This comes 1 day after their alleged multi-million crime ring was busted. 46-year-old Finchenko, who owned ARC Electronics, and the other suspects were charged in the alleged scheme that federal agents say was centered in Houston. The U.S. Department of Justice says he pretended to make traffic lights out of his business here along Town Park Drive, but in actuality, they say his company sold cutting-edge technology that could be used in Russian weapon systems, exchanged communications with Russian intelligence, and tried to hide the documents when he and his group suspected authorities were onto them. Since opening his business here, records show that the naturalized U.S. citizen has shipped $50 million worth of material to his native country since 2008. Meantime, in an interesting twist, Finchenko's wife, Victoria, did show up to the court to support her husband, but somehow managed to sneak out before we could talk to her. Now, the hearings to determine whether these suspects will be allowed out of jail before their trial are expected to start tomorrow morning. We're in downtown. Nefertiti Jacquez, KPRC Local 2.
Meantime, the judge today made it pretty clear that the trial would not take place here in Houston, but rather Brooklyn, New York, where the indictment was unsealed.
Police have arrested a man in connection with a deadly accident in southeast Houston. Ronnie William Cook Jr. was arrested Tuesday and charged with accident involving injury. Now, police say he was driving along Selinsky Road early Sunday morning when he hit Renata Johnson as she was crossing the street. She was taken to Bentop Hospital, where she later died.
A jury has found a former Houston police officer guilty of raping a woman.
And now that same jury is going to determine how he's going to be punished. Abraham Joseph appeared shocked as the verdict was read in court earlier today. Local 2's Erica Sargent has been following the trial all day. She's joining us live from downtown. Erica?
Well, Bill, right after the verdict was read, the judge immediately moved forward with the sentencing phase. And during all of this man who usually, from what the women here in court said, intimidated them, he had a very different demeanor. When he heard the word guilty, he looked very different. Inside the criminal courthouse, as he heard that verdict, as you mentioned, he appeared stunned. A definite change from the blank stare he held for much of the trial. His wife could barely stand, and in the front row, listening to it all, was also the victim, who cried in relief. Joseph is now convicted of raping the woman. It happened in January of last year. Prosecutors say he was in uniform, armed, and on duty when he handcuffed and then kidnapped the woman outside a club where she worked as a waitress. Now, prosecutors say Joseph took the woman to Townwood Park and repeatedly raped her. Joseph's defense attorney says the sex was consensual. In the end, the jury convicted him of 2 counts of aggravated sexual assault. Now, we spoke with the victim right after the verdict, and here's what she said through an interpreter.
I thank God for because justice has been made in my case, attorneys, and the same way all the people that believe me.
And so prosecutors, as part of the sentencing phase, have been calling additional witnesses, women who say that they were also assaulted by Joseph. They say he used his position of power to intimidate. Now, those witnesses wrapped up this evening. They will reconvene tomorrow morning to continue closing statements, and soon he will learn just how long he'll spend in prison. For now, we're live. Erica Sargent, KPRC, Local 2.
Erica, thank you. In sentencing, Joseph faces 5 years to life in prison.
Meanwhile, nearly 100 small dogs dumped on the side of a Texas road.
And coming up, why a new state dog breeding law could be to blame for their abandonment and what's being done in our area to stop it from happening.
Plus, a consumer alert for you now. Some of the most popular websites for kids now accused of taking advantage of them. From Justin Bieber to Selena Gomez, the identity warning that parents really need to hear.
And get ready for some big weather changes. Your forecast to help you prepare for the upcoming weekend is straight ahead.
Sounds good, Frank. Thank you. And coming up next in Decision 2012, the first presidential debate is in the books. The debate grade card live from the Washington Post.